I got another email, and this answers another question we've been talking about, the Saudi Arabia shows. We said the crowd, how are the tickets distributed? It's not like North Korea where it's like come or else, but in what we asked, is there any level of enticement or inducement or provocation or, any type of, I don't know, just out and out, you better go or else type of thing.
Well, we just don't know anything about how it will work over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now we do. We're about to find out. Because we got the scoop here from Khalid. He's got 18 names here. I don't know which one is his last one. It's Khalid. We'll just say he's Khalid.
Khalid's a member of the Cult of Cornette Facebook group. I know who it is.
Okay, well, I don't want to get him in trouble over there. You never know. Possibly communication with us over here in the Western world may not be, approved of. But anyway, hello, Jim and Brian. Regarding Saudi shows, tickets availability you've asked about on the show, allow me to kindly explain to you how it works. Basically, our government, the General Entertainment Authority specifically, pays WWE to do these shows in Saudi Arabia and the right to then sell and distribute the tickets. They don't make people go in masses to the shows, as it was assumed in our podcast. They sell them to people living in Saudi Arabia. During the first show, the VIP ringside was reserved for VIP guests of the state. That's why the crowds were dead and lame. But every other show afterwards, it was sold out for everyone. Basically, people are not sold out for it, but basically sold to everyone. Basically, people who like wrestling, and that's why everything was registering with the crowd. And this is the best part. The reason wrestling is popular in Saudi Arabia is because prior to cable television in the 90s, we only had 2 state television stations. The only thing fun that was shown on TV was WWF and territory wrestling.
Territory wrestling?
He said, at some point of history, Tony Gurria was the most popular wrestler in Saudi Arabia. And he was invited to do a tour and meet the local people. I think it was during President Carter days, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, that lines up with Tony Gurria's run as a tag team champion in the WWF. But Tony Gurria was the most popular wrestler in Saudi Arabia.
That's wild. I wonder what other territory wrestling they could have been getting over there. How would it have gotten there? And if we're talking the late 70s, early 80s, who had distribution like that before, Vince started going international? Was there a Bill Behrens back then?
Well,
someone like that?
There wasn't, but there were the Angelo Paffos. Or there were the same thing when Angelo got the Memphis tapes to fulfill his ICW time slots when they went out of business. He kept those, and they ended up passing into different hands. In cases, you would, even in the 70s, there were instances of either international sales of TV shows for brief periods of time usually, or international piracy, not just of wrestling, but if you could get your hands on some master tapes of whatever. Nobody in the 70s, we didn't know that they were showing the WWF in Saudi Arabia in the 70s. So in the 70s, most television production companies, networks, etc., didn't know what was being shown in places like that. You could make some money under the table. There's no telling what it was.
And we're talking really before the prominence of satellite dish, or even satellite. I mean, the first satellites were what, 76?
Yeah, because remember the first TBS logo when it became a superstation incorporated a satellite into the logo, did it not?
That's right, yeah.
Because that's the space age technology, baby. It's a brand new thing. No, they were actually shipping videotapes to different parts of the world. Sometimes legally, sometimes not, on wrestling or any other television program.
You know what? If that's true, if that's the method in which this footage somehow got onto Saudi Arabia TV, and who knows where else, maybe there was a bicycle run. It went from Saudi Arabia to Syria to Iran, who knows? But that means there's a chance, depending on what this footage is beyond WWF, that there's other territory tapes in the Middle East.
Possibly. Or anywhere else, someplace stuck in. I got a Howard Brody sold enough wrestling to Germany to start a goddamn 24-hour wrestling channel run for 5 years. Um, and as well, the idea that the television world was not as advanced, and I'm not trying to put anybody down here, but a lot of the United States fans think, well, TV from their experience. You might have seen a clip on Twitter here recently. I think color television debuted, and it was either Australia or New Zealand in like 1973. And
right, all that footage is black and white from Barnett's days in Australia.
But just the idea of people, yes, color was widespread in America in the 66 season, but at the same time, they had color shows going back to the early 50s with Superman and the Lone Ranger, just depended on the studio that shot it. Most people didn't see it in color, but they didn't have any modern television that we consider modern outside Japan and the United States in other parts of the world until much later. So it was the Wild West as far as what got showed and what didn't. And also, Khalid says, P.S. Fubar, Makafakaloob, and Slapko Fudd are still with the WWE, and they are also famous wrestling YouTubers in Saudi Arabia as well. So they got that going for them. All righty.